Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto's News. It's me, Omar Bam, aka Crypto. And as always, it's so nice to be here with you guys. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for doing so in so many different ways via Patreon, via YouTube, just showing up, watching these videos when you can. And those of you guys who give me feedback constantly, I'm going to ask for your help again because in the last video, apparently, like every 20 seconds, there was a weird audio glitch. So if we're having some sort of issue like that, let me know. Some sort of lag. I'm trying to get it fixed, but I'm not entirely sure why it's happening. And so if it's still happening, oh, it looks like it might be happening. Damn it. I'm noticing it right now up on the screen, and I don't know why that is going on right now. Sometimes it can be difficult to figure these things out. Hopefully you guys can hear fine, but we're going to try to get through this video and then I'm going to have to look into it. But thank you so much, Kevin, for the heads up. And hopefully, maybe I should just fix it and come back on. I don't know. So according to you, thanks, Renee, for the feedback there. The sound is fine. I'm not sure if this might have fixed the stuttering that we're having. It looks a little bit better on my end right now. I tried something. Okay. But yeah, we're going to get into quite a bit today. As you can see in the title there, we're going to cover the controversy that's playing out as we speak surrounding Barry Silbert and Cameron Winklevoss, Winklevoss, two of the richest people in the crypto space, if not in the entire world, both believed to be billionaires, as far as I can tell. So we'll be covering the feud that's going on between both of them that could affect, I think, the overall crypto space and a bit more, including one of the leading Bitcoin developers losing over 200 Bitcoin that were in cold storage. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. Remember to hit like and subscribe if you'd like frequent updates on what's going on in crypto. Let's go ahead and get into it. So looking at the prices today, you have Bitcoin at $16,729. You have it up 0.8%. Kicking off the new year with low volatility still. Ethereum at 1.4% to the upside at $1,218.73. Solana has recovered some of the losses that it was incurring last week. Now it's down only 0.7% over the last week, up 13.4% over the last week. I'm sorry, over the last 24 hours as it's recovered, I think due to those comments by Vitalik Buterin that we covered in the last video, where he's like, hey, it's all right now for Solana. Maybe it's bottomed out. He seemed to point to that, and it could very well be the case. So let's take a look at this, which was posted by Dan Crypto Trades, since we're still talking about prices. This is a chart he put together of the different months going back to 2013 for Bitcoin and the returns for that particular month. So this could give us clues about what's going to be going on here in January. Dan at Crypto Trades wrote, historically, January isn't the best month for Bitcoin, with 60% of the month since 2013 ending up with a negative return. We can also see how the percentage change on average in January is quite large, both up and down. Will January bring some volatility back into the market? So as you can see there, usually January, as he pointed out, is a very volatile month, either to the upside or to the downsides. You can see in 2022, we were down almost 17%, 2021 up almost 15%, 2020 up 30%. These are big numbers that we're seeing. The only month where pretty much things were flat, at least when you're looking at this chart, is in 2017 when you were down only 0.04%. But for the most part, you see big moves happen in January. So I think we are possibly setting ourselves up, considering as well, looking at the charts, we've been looking at how ranges have been becoming tighter and tighter, that it's very possible we see some sort of huge volatility pick up in the coming days. If not that, then weeks, but likely something huge to happen this month as well to fill in the chart. I don't think it's going to be a 2017 here. But I think on the positive side, Happy New Year, Escape, and everybody else. Thank you so much. So looking at the February returns here, however, you can see that for the most part, it is green. So that I think would be a good reason to be buying any sort of dip that happens here. More than likely, February, looking at this, has been positive with 80% of the different years returning positively, and usually big numbers again to the upside, over 10%. I mean, we're talking about numbers 36%, 23%. You see even in 2013, 61.77%. Wouldn't that be nice if you're on the long side? February traditionally is one of the best months, as you can see here. October is the other month that is quite good for markets for the most part, where only 2 years out of this history, going back to 2013, have we had negative returns for Bitcoin. So I think it's going to be a really interesting next 2 months as we kick off 2023. And what could be causing some of the climbs in price that are going on here and that could be happening in February? Well, it could be, in fact, that the meme rings true that always comes up. I don't think it's coming up very much, but it probably will be in different circles. And that is the Wall Street bonuses. So if you work in Wall Street, there are different bonuses based on the performance that you provided to different funds or whatever that are handed out at the end of the year. But oftentimes those bonuses don't arrive until, in some periods, even March. So it's really a period of around between December and March when most of these bonuses are given out. That can be quite huge and do oftentimes end up in different assets, right? They end up in things like cryptocurrencies. And so I found this here on wallstreetoasis.com. It's kind of old, but I thought it was interesting, and I'm sure it hasn't changed very much, but this is 14 years old, so keep that in mind. But it does have a list of different banks and these financial institutions and points out when these bonuses are handed out. You can see here Bank of America, end of January, end of February, they're handed out. Barclays, late January, end of February. Bear Stearns, I don't think they're around anymore. Early December, mid-January, and so on and so forth. But for the most part, you can see that it's basically January, February when most of these bonuses are paid out. And so that's probably why you could see some big returns come around February into the crypto market. So I think there is reason to be positive here at this point from that angle of things. Maybe we're the first show here talking about Wall Street bonuses. Come on, let's get on it. Anyway, this is what's in the title about the leading Bitcoin developer who has lost most of his Bitcoins. This is a Luke Dash Jr. He wrote this on Twitter. Actually, we're a little bit ahead here. Oops. Let me pull that up. My PGP key is compromised, and at least many of my Bitcoin stolen. I have no idea how. Please help. Tagging Bitcoin. Looks like some of it is coin joined to this address he wrote. What the heck, FBI, IC3, why can't I reach anyone? Never mind many, it's basically all gone. And then puts a list of addresses that were linked to this hack. So again, many of his Bitcoin stolen. It seems that most of his Bitcoins, he says he doesn't know what happened here. He wrote, somebody asked what PGP has to do with anything. Pretty good privacy. That's what PGP stands for. That's how you might verify that your Bitcoin knots or core download isn't infested with malware. So to be clear, do not download Bitcoin knots and trust it until this is resolved. If you already did in the last few months, consider shutting that system down for now. Is there anything we can do to help? Someone asked. I've seen a lot of noise and hot takes, but is there anything you need? Luke Dash Jr. wrote, to wake up from this nightmare. It seems that he was not using a multi-sig setup here. So just a lot of things, people trying to figure out exactly how he lost this. Someone who should really understand privacy and has worked for that over the years suddenly loses all their Bitcoin. So if you don't know Luke Dash Jr., I went ahead and asked our good friend ChatGPT here to give us some answers as to what's going on with Luke Dash Jr. And so Luke Dash Jr. was a prominent figure in the debate over the block size limit in Bitcoin, which was a contentious issue, many of you might remember, within the Bitcoin community in the years leading up to 2017. Dash Jr. was a strong advocate for keeping the block size small and not increasing it, arguing that larger blocks would lead to centralization of the Bitcoin network and make it more vulnerable to attacks. He was also concerned that larger blocks could make it more difficult for small nodes to participate in the network. Since block size would be bigger, you'd need a bigger hard drive. It would be more expensive to run a node, meaning less nodes, potentially leading to a more centralized and less decentralized network. Anyway, however, there was, for those of you guys who don't know the backstory on that, there was also those in the Bitcoin community who argued that increasing the block size limit was necessary in order to allow the network to scale and handle increasing numbers of transactions. This debate was ultimately resolved in 2017 with the adoption of the SegWit soft fork, which implemented a number of changes to the way that transactions are processed in the Bitcoin network, including a modest increase in the block size limit. And what has been his most major contribution to Bitcoin, I asked it. Really, it gave me a bunch of different contributions. He's contributed to a bunch of Bitcoin improvement proposals. For example, you can see this one, BIP65, which introduced a new opcode called Check Lock Time Verify, or CLTV, that allows for the creation of time-locked transactions. CLTV has been used to implement various features on the Bitcoin network, such as time-limited escrow transactions and atomic swap. So he's definitely done a lot of work. That's why he's really well known and respected in the Bitcoin community, and he continues to maintain the Bitcoin Core software here. So anyway, him losing this is just astounding to a lot of people. There have been calls and suspicions that maybe this is the latest boating accident. Maybe he's trying to lose it all before tax season comes around, although it doesn't seem to be the case. Just looking at the way he's interacting here, looking at some of the language, my first gut instinct is that he actually lost all of this. So how could this have happened? It seems like it might be related to a situation he reported on November 17th, 2022, when he wrote this on Twitter. My server was accessed this morning by an unknown person. Full analysis in progress, but take extra care that you PGP verified any downloads. Confirm presence of new malware / backdoors on his system. No evidence yet that it was used for anything, but be extra careful. Further investigation is suggesting that this is not a bog standard Trojan, but something created specifically for compromising my server. So someone specifically targeted him and created software malware in order to enter his systems. Completed a first round of analysis. Evidence suggests the attacker installed 2 to 3 remote shell backdoors, but didn't touch anything else. Moving forward with an even more extreme check. But given what I've seen so far, I don't expect it to turn up anything more. Purge the backdoors as soon as they were found. Of course, identity of attacker is still uncertain, but making progress. A confession to save me time might get him some mercy. Hint, hint. So it does appear that it was not a seed phrase, for example, like 12-word mnemonic phrase that was compromised here. Luke Dash Jr. claims to be keeping most of his Bitcoin, or this Bitcoin, in a cold wallet, meaning it does not touch the internet. It might not even have a Wi-Fi card or some sort of adapter. He hasn't given us full details yet, but it's not plugged into the internet, so it would have been difficult for someone to just go in there and get that. It could have been compromised a very long time ago. People are saying this is very suspicious. However, it does look like a hot wallet intrusion. It could have even happened here in November. So how is it possible that it was a cold wallet? Maybe you're just saying that in order to save face and make it look like you weren't just completely lax on your security and resting on your heels and so on. But this was generated basically not through a seed phrase, because those did not exist early on, as Luke Dash Jr. said a while ago. It seems that it was a lot. It was his basically hundreds of private keys that were compromised, according to him, that led to the loss of over 200 and I think 14 Bitcoin, he has pointed at, that were moved to CoinJoin, which basically obfuscates where they're going afterwards. It's basically the technology that fuels the Dash. The Dash network was built off of Bitcoin and CoinJoin, for example. So he first noticed as well when different exchanges such as Coinbase started letting Luke know about different login attempts, and that's when he became aware of the issue here. So Binance's CEO CZ wrote, "Sorry to see you lose so much. Informed our security team to monitor. If it comes our way, we will freeze it. If there's anything else we can help with, please let us know. We deal with these often and have law enforcement relationships worldwide." So that's why people are telling Luke, hey, report this, which he did. Luke said that law enforcement just did not care, but it could be the case that they continue to track these Bitcoins somehow. And I think it would be a reach, but anyway, somehow they might deposit that into some sort of major exchange that is linked to somebody's true identity, and that's how they would catch them and eventually return that Bitcoin back to him. But considering how sophisticated this attack, this targeted attack was on Luke Dash Jr., or appears to be anyway, this attack, it could be the case. It would be very difficult to see his coins back. Udi Wertheimer wrote, "You shouldn't manage your own keys, even if even one of Bitcoin's OG developers messes this up. I really don't know how other people are expected to do it safely. There are trade-offs, different sets of risks." Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know exactly what was going on here and how he was storing his keys. Some people might have generated them better off by using a seed phrase rather than kept the private key behind a PGP, which basically PGP allows you to encrypt a message, and you need the private key for the PGP in order to unencrypt that message. So it seems that his private keys were encrypted using PGP, and when his PGP code was stolen, or the access to that PGP, they were able to unencrypt his private keys and take his codes that way. But security is just such a tricky thing, and still in crypto, something that so many are working on. And yeah, absolutely are not perfect. Whether you're keeping it somewhere like a Coinbase, there are going to be risks there, right? Or a Binance. There are going to be risks of people somehow getting into your account there, moving funds, or the company going under, or going bankrupt. Chapter 11 has been something that a lot of people have been facing recently. But at the same time, managing your own keys could be difficult, even again for an OG Bitcoin developer. Who likely didn't touch these Bitcoin all the time. I don't know how cold these Bitcoin were, but yeah, definitely a troubling situation. So as Mandrick put here on Twitter, all Bitcoiners currently quadruple checking their cold storage setup right now. I thought this was an interesting story as well by Warren Tagami, who wrote in a response, "True story that happened to Warren. My previous cold wallet was an encrypted file on a dedicated laptop with Wi-Fi card removed. I forgot the passphrase due to fever and was almost screwed. Recovered deep cold backup on paper that was in a jar buried deep in a forest in a location that he knew from his childhood when he was in the Boy Scouts." So basically, it's like what people always talk about. He had a buried treasure chest, basically in the form of a jar that had his backups in there, buried in a forest, and he knew how to get there because of training from the Boy Scouts. But oftentimes, this is some of the stuff that works. Like some people might remember their seed phrase by remembering like the first letter of each word and putting a painting, like 12 different paintings up around their house in a certain order, where something representative in the painting might be the first letter of that. But there's so many different of that key, of that seed phrase. There's so many different ways to be creative about how to store this, and they all carry their own risks. I've heard about people having spare ledgers, right? If they get somebody to come into their house with a wrench they bought for $5, threatening to swing at them in the face, asking for the Bitcoin or their crypto, they'd have a spare ledger hardware wallet that they give to them, right? And I think there's even software in some of these hardware wallets that allows it to, you could give like the fake way to get into that hardware wallet that would show a small balance, like $5 worth of crypto inside of that hardware wallet. But if they had the right code, then it might show them the real account. But anyway, they might have an extra ledger, the real ledger, magnetically under their desk. There's so many ways to do this. And if you were using any of those different methods that I just kind of hinted at right now, you might want to change them. I just doxed. I'm so sorry. Your different ways of storing that. But yeah, I guess burying a jar with your backups is a good way, because there's no way I would know or anyone would likely know that. But it's funny that amnesia affected him in one way, but his Boy Scout training, Warren, was so deep and intense in him that he could still remember how to navigate the forest to get to that jar. I don't know. Anyway, we'll leave that story behind. I feel really bad for Luke Dash Jr. here. I know what it's like to lose a huge amount of crypto like that, and to feel like you're at bottom. So I'm sure you'll recover, and the community is likely, going to help you in some sort of way. But my regards to him, man. That does suck. And I would understand why he wouldn't want to explain too many details and docs even more of his own security, right? Anyway, Cameron Winklevoss, He is one of the founders of Gemini, one of the leading cryptocurrency exchanges. Gemini has been the subject of a lawsuit recently. We covered on the show how their Earn program, which was earning people over 7.6% interest. Basically, you go on Gemini Exchange, you click on the Earn tab, you go in there, you deposit some crypto, and you're earning 7.6%. That was halted on November 16th. So about 6 weeks ago, that program, because the company that was offering that interest rate, that 7.6% interest rate, was a company called Genesis, and Genesis froze withdrawals, halted all services. So that meant that Gemini had to stop all services for the Earn program. The Earn program has over $900 million that are currently just floating around in limbo, trying to figure out what's going to happen to them as people are trying to get a claim to that cash. There is no bankruptcy yet. There's really no plan for how people are going to be getting their money back. So people are becoming very antsy. That's why you're seeing lawsuits spring up, like the one that we talked about against the Earn program for not providing proper disclosures and so on. But anyway, this is putting a bit of fire, I think, under the Winklevoss twins, because Cameron Winklevoss wrote this in direct response, or as requesting a direct response from Barry Silbert. Barry Silbert is the head of some of the biggest cryptocurrency companies. Probably at the top, you have DCG, Digital Currency Group, and then they own different subsidiary companies such as CoinDesk, the news site that runs one of the larger cryptocurrency exchanges. And they also ran Genesis. So Genesis that funded that Earn program for Gemini. So anyway, it seems that there is now a battle of the titans that is playing out to kick off the year between Cameron Winklevoss and Barry Silbert. So I'll just read to you the letter that is being shared today on social media, directed at Barry Silbert from Cameron Winklevoss. Barry, today marks 47 days since Genesis halted withdrawals. I am writing on behalf of more than 340,000 Earn users who are looking for answers. These users aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet, they are real people. A single mom who lent her son's education money to you. A father who lent his son's bar mitzvah money to you. A husband and wife who lent their life savings to you. A school teacher who lent his children's college funds to you. A policeman, and so many more. Altogether, these people entrusted more than $900 million of their assets to you. They deserve concrete answers, and we are here to get them. For the past 6 weeks, we have done everything we can to engage with you in good faith and collaborative manner in order to reach a consensual resolution for you to pay back the $900 million that you owe while helping you preserve your business. We appreciate that there are startup costs to any restructuring, and at times things don't go as fast as we would like. However, it is now becoming clear that you have been engaging in bad faith stall tactics. For example, on December 2nd, we expressed our belief that getting everyone in a room together as soon as possible will be the most productive path towards reaching a resolution. You agreed, but stated you would only do so after there was a proposal on the table. On December 17th, a proposal was delivered to you. On December 25th, Christmas Day, an updated version of this proposal was delivered to you. Despite this, you continue to refuse to get into a room with us to hash out a resolution. In addition, you continue to refuse to agree to a timeline with key milestones. Every time we ask you for tangible engagement, you hide behind lawyers, investment bankers, and process. After 6 weeks, your behavior is not only completely unacceptable, it is unconscionable. Sorry. The idea in your head that you can quietly hide in your ivory tower and that this will all just magically go away, or that this is someone else's problem, is pure fantasy. To be clear, this mess is entirely of your own making. Digital Currency Group, DCG, of which you are the founder and CEO, owes Genesis, its wholly owned subsidiary, $1.675 billion. This is money that Genesis owes to Earn users and other creditors. You took this money, the money of school teachers, to fuel greedy share buybacks, illiquid venture investments, and kamikaze grayscale net asset value trades that ballooned the fee-generating assets under management of your trust, all at the expense of creditors and all for your own personal gain. It is now time for you to take responsibility for this and do the right thing. Grayscale is another company that DCG owns, all under Barry Silbert. He's the boss. He's the one that everyone listens to. It's not lost on us that you started your career as a bankruptcy restructuring associate. No wonder he's so shifty around this kind of stuff and understands the power of hiding behind lawyers in his ivory tower and so on. I appreciate, I just want to say as a quick side note, someone who could take this fight to someone like Barry Silbert. As you might have remembered, I've had my own issues with the company, with CoinDesk, when I was kicked out of a conference that I paid full money for. I had looked through all of their terms, and there was nothing saying that I could not film interviews at their conference. I was filming my own content there at the conference, and I was kicked out for doing so and threatened having my YouTube channel taken down, my old YouTube channel, by their head of strategy, Michael whatever, on the way to the airport, right? They threatened to hit me with copyright strikes, and then they did do so, affecting me and my ability to live stream for many months. They are very aggressive, and they are the suits in crypto that first entered the space and were trying to fight the original ideas of decentralization. And I think they continue to do so. So I really appreciate what's going on here. I do want to say it with Cameron Winklevoss writing in this way, putting this publicly out there so everyone can see on Twitter. Anyway, so it's not lost on us that you started your career as a bankruptcy restructuring associate, and it's not lost on us that you've been working desperately to try and firewall DCG from the problems that you created at Genesis. You should dispense with this fiction because we all know what you know, that DCG and Genesis are beyond commingled. Everyone takes orders from you and always has, and anything you have done after the fact to pretend otherwise won't hold up. If instead you had put all this energy towards finding a resolution, we would have been done by now. Everyone would be in a better place, including you. And to finish here, he wrote, earn users are tired, they're scared, many are now in dire straits, and yet despite all that, they have had to endure. They have had been remarkably patient and supportive, but there is only so much more they can take. They deserve a resolution for a recovery of the assets they lent to you and an end to this nightmare. To that end, and for the final time, we are asking you to publicly commit to working together to solve this problem by January 8th, 2023, which gives them just under a week to do so. We remain ready and willing to work with you, but time is running out. Sincerely, Cameron Winklevoss. Time is running out. This does appear to be a threat, a bigger threat, a looming threat of maybe some sort of lawsuit. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a fist fight at a brawl. I'm pretty sure we all know that the super huge, tall Olympian rowing team member Winklevoss would definitely kick Barry Silbert's butt if it was some sort of brawl fight or some sort of USC. Although I would love to see it, right? I'm envisioning a future, for example, where we can all clone ourselves with AI. I think that's going to be a huge company to invest in. I think within the next decade, with what you're seeing with like Chat GPT again, it'll be the ability where it will be so much cheaper for us. And I'm sorry to go on this tangent, but I've been meaning to do so with you guys. But yeah, it'll be so cool when we can feed an AI a bunch of documents of ourselves, of our own writing, a bunch of video, audio, all of this stuff so that it can generate, and we can generate different versions of ourselves to go online, to post 24/7 on Instagram, to post on TikTok, to post on YouTube, to engage as us. Of course, I think it would require some sort of oversight, but I think we'll be very surprised how these AI will eventually be better versions of ourselves than ourselves, right? Because we would require sleep to be at peak, but these things would not. I think that's the world we're heading into. And eventually when we can get these robotics that can look like us and stuff, and you put that AI of yourself in, and you can basically clone yourself and have yourself running around a bunch of times in the world. It's going to be a weird world in 10 years. But yeah, I think it would be really cool if we did that, for example, to Cameron Winklevoss, and we did it to Barry Silbert, and then just had them fight each other. I think that would be great. And then we can go on Augur, which I don't think exists anymore, the prediction market, and bet on who would win. It's going to be an interesting world. Anyway, Barry Silbert has refuted this. He wrote in response to Cameron, DCG did not borrow $1.675 billion from Genesis. DCG has never missed an interest payment to Genesis and is currently on all loans outstanding. Next loan maturity is May 2023. DCG delivered to Genesis and your advisor's proposal on December 29th and has not received any response. So I haven't heard anything about this proposal that was supposedly delivered on December 29th because this does seem to be happening behind closed doors. So it's just based on what these behemoths, these titans of crypto industry are putting out there on social media. So anyway, Cameron wrote back, there you go again. Stop trying to pretend that you and DCG are innocent bystanders and had nothing to do with creating this mess. It's completely disingenuous. How does DCG owe Genesis $1.675 billion if it didn't borrow the money? Oh, right. That promissory note, which, by the way, was described in a letter to shareholders that was given out by DCG in November, whereby they did talk about over $1 billion being lent as a promissory note, and that this was totally fine for these companies to do. Will you or will you not commit to solving this by January 8th in a manner that treats the $1.1 billion promissory note as $1.1 billion? So there you have it, folks. That is the latest, as far as I can see, of the drama playing out between Barry Silbert and DCG. And I think this has the potential to affect the space, because it does seem like DCG or Genesis, maybe both, were tethered to the situation with Three Arrows Capital when they went under, and some of these other crypto funds that when they went under, they could no longer pay back their debts to these companies, putting a huge hole in the balance sheets of companies like DCG. And I cannot imagine a world where they, offering with their interest rate Genesis, were not affected by some of these companies going under. Very likely they were commingled as well with these problems, and they are facing their own issues and liquidity issues because of this. And this is, I think, what a lot has been coming out with the cryptocurrency community, trying to pick at Grayscale and pick at DCG and try to get to the bottom of this, where you have Barry Silbert and these companies basically saying that they don't have to offer transparency for the most part, not so much as offering really much of an olive branch to the community, and they don't have to legally. They know that. This guy, again, was into bankruptcy restructuring back in the day, so no surprise. Anyway, I'm very interested to see where this goes. Likely this is just the beginning of a saga that's, I guess, could have started a while ago, but probably the beginning of a bigger part of the saga that's about to play out, and maybe a driver of the volatility that could come. I really hoped it wasn't to the downside, but some of this could potentially lead to downside. So we have to keep eyes and ears open here for how this could play out, because I think it has a potential to affect even more, right? I think Grayscale has been having issues. GBTC is trading 50% below NAV. You have Bitcoin basically trading around $17,000, and you have GBTC trading around for basically $9,000 GBTC that would be held in each of these shares. So it's not looking really good. Investors are really unhappy that have been holding this, different funds. It gives them more reason to hate crypto overall. And I really don't like characters that make crypto look bad or really change what crypto is supposed to be about: decentralization, not these companies in the center who manipulate this way and that way and make the whole space look bad. Don't like that stuff. So this is the age of truth, the age of Aquarius and crypto, the age of transparency. And I think everything is going to be playing out. There's too many people paying attention. There are too many whistleblowers in the background. And these leaks do eventually come to a head. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I will leave you all with a fist fight against the suits of crypto. Yeah, indeed, Renee. I'm glad you appreciate that. We'll leave you with the quote of the day here, which I think we should consider for sure. There is a wisdom of the head, and there is a wisdom of the heart. Charles Dickens. We will forgive, but we will not forget, Barry. Take care, everyone. Much love and stay cryptic. Peace.